Hello, ServeWellers. A few weeks ago, I did my best to convince you to spend 4 to 6 weeks at the end of the summer studying for the SAT or the ACT, and I hope it worked. I hope you've carved out a lot of time for deep study this summer. This week, I want to teach you how to go about actually doing this. The first thing we need to do is to figure out which test is better for you, the SAT or the ACT. Not necessarily the one you think you might like better, or the one that your sister or your best friend told you you'd do better on, but the one you actually perform better on. And I'd like you to find out that answer in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And once that important decision is made, SAT or ACT, it's time to map out a study schedule for July and August. Okay, so how do you know which test is better suited for you? The best way to find out is by taking a legitimate diagnostic or a practice test for both the SAT and the ACT within about a month of one another. And I'd like you to take them only about 1 or 2 weeks apart. Importantly, I also don't want you to use your PSAT score as a substitute for a practice SAT, because the whole idea here is to get an apples-to-apples comparison on how you do on the exams. And using a PSAT score from 7 months ago is not a great comparable. I also want to make sure that you take the tests under the same exact test-taking conditions. The same day, for example. Sundays are usually a good bet. The same time of day. Let's shoot for 8 or 9 a.m. The same room, a quiet room with no distractions. The same lighting, the same calculator, the same everything. No eating, no petting the dog, no swiping on your phone, nothing but test-taking. Try to simulate real test-taking conditions as much as you can. You want to eliminate as many variables as possible, which will give you the best apples-to-apples comparisons. I would take my sons to my office on a Sunday morning, stick them in an empty conference room with their laptop and a link to the practice test, and wait for them to emerge 3 hours later. This is as close to test-taking conditions as you can get. So how do you set this up? I always recommend to my ServeWellers that they reach out to me so that I can personally introduce them to my trusted test preparation partner whom I've worked with for many, many years. They will find a time that's convenient for you to take both tests, ideally, as I said, 1 or 2 weeks apart. These will be at-home diagnostic or practice tests that you can take on your schedule using an online proctor tool that guides you through every timed section of the test. And once you complete the test, you send the score sheets in, they grade the test, and they send you back a comprehensive report on how you did, what questions you got right, what questions you got wrong, where you guessed, and where you may need to focus your efforts. This is a completely free service for both the SAT and the ACT. I've had hundreds of prep-wellers, including my own sons, all go through the same process, and let me tell you, it is well worth it. My partner, who provides this free service, does offer SAT and ACT tutoring services, should you be interested, but of course you're under no obligation or committed to do anything. Some students have a gut feeling about which test would be better for them. Some base their decision, as I said, on a friend's advice or an Instagram post or maybe a sibling's opinion. I prefer to let the data do the talking. How well did you actually perform on each test? For real. This test is too important for you to be lazy. You need real data to make an informed decision. So please, don't rely on outdated information like your old PSAT or a friend or a hunch, because some students clearly do better on one test than the other. Other students, I'd say probably a majority, do about the same on both, which theoretically should be the case. When you get your personal score summary back with what you got right, what you got wrong, your strengths, your weaknesses, they will also advise which test, if either, is better suited to you based on all of their expertise in the testing industry. There are significant differences between the two tests, which we will address in an upcoming lesson. We're not going to worry about it right now. And I believe that you'd be cheating yourself if you didn't find out which test you might just naturally do better on. So please, don't skip this step. If you assume you'll do better on one test and don't try the other, you may be leaving valuable points on the table. And of course, once you find out which test is better for you, if either, and you get a refreshed baseline score, then it's time to come up with your study plan. This is where you will have to consider how well you did on the practice test compared to your target score. For instance, if you got a 1200 on the practice SAT and your target score is a 1350, that represents a 150-point improvement. Well, what does that mean? How much studying do you need to do to close that gap? Well, what type of studying do you like? Do you like studying alone? Do you like studying in a group? Do you like a one-on-one tutor? Do you like using a book or maybe one of the web-based tutors like Khan Academy? This is going to be your choice. And of course, how motivated you are. Each of these options will have pros and cons. Some are expensive. Others are convenient. Some are intense. Others are more laid back. Some are long-term. Some are short-term. You will have to decide how much you want to commit to this process. And again, you might be wondering, well, how many hours should I study? As I tell all of my prep-wellers, it depends on where you're starting from and how well you want to do. And as in life, there's typically a strong correlation between hard work and results. So a student who wants to do their best should probably be willing to commit part of July and most of August to significant and deep study. For some students, this may mean 10 hours a week. For other students, it might mean 25 or more hours a week. It comes down to how badly you want it. Next week, you'll be transitioned automatically to the ServeWell Academy Junior Year curriculum. And I know some of you may still have a little bit of school left, but on the ServeWell calendar, you have officially become a high school junior. So congratulations on that. Until next week, continue to study hard, play hard, and don't forget to serve others.